So next up, we have a presentation from Adavale Resources with the ticker code ADD, an African explorer focused on nickel and uranium. So to tell us more, today we are joined by Executive Director, David Riekie. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, Jane, and thanks very much for the invitation to address people today at the broker briefing and the investor participants that have actually taken time out of their busy day. It's titled Stalking Elephants, and I think probably what it's trying to reflect is the fact that we think we've got some big opportunities. We consider those to be nickel elephants, and the fact that we've got plural there means that we're looking to find more than just one. And I think our early term exploration suggests that we've got a great deal of opportunity in a very large tenement package. The other term that we use here is the East African Nickel Belt is actually quite substantial, and we consider that we've got a dominant position in that particular belt. The next two slides are important notifications and disclaimers, but the actual reference on the bottom of that last disclaimer actually profiles a level of activity we've undertaken really over the last 18 months, but more particularly over the last 12 months. So if I can move to the next slide and just dive into what we consider to be our investment highlights. We're blessed with the fact that we've got an exposure not only to nickel, but to uranium as well. This presentation will focus on the nickel. And I think I'd just like to take a note of the fact that, as we've mentioned, we are basically sitting alongside a rather large elephant, and that elephant lists on the New York Stock Exchange today for about $1 billion. For those people that are interested, it's live zone. You should have a look. Importantly, we've got this dominant position within and around this elephant, and we are in the midst of a reasonably comprehensive drilling campaign that comprises not only RC drilling, but importantly, some diamond drilling. So we said that news flow will continue through the course of the next months specifically, but throughout the balance of this calendar year. We've also profiled the fact that we've got experience within our team. The experience is actually relevant to us because it's not only African experience, it's also in the field of discovering nickel sulphide. Most important to have that right level of credentialed people providing that stewardship in the company. Profiled here is our ticker. We should actually reference the fact that we've also got some listed options on the exchange at the moment as well. But essentially, with our market cap of about $15 million, it reflects the fact we've got 500 million shares on issue and a share price that's seen a little bit of an uptick, which is fantastic, referencing and reflecting the fact that we've had some early term success with our drilling program. You can never actually get ahead of the curve and actually say that you're going to app those successes, but from the work that we've done, we had predicted that there would be a level of recognition in the drilling campaigns undertaken and what appears to be some good solid results in our core, but a little bit about that in a moment. Tanzania is a destination. I probably should have a map on this slide, but essentially it has been an attractive destination for many years. It had a period where it was less popular. But I think it's a reflection and a testament to the President Hassan actually getting that level of focus back on the importance of mining in Tanzania. As a crucial part of the country's GDP, we've seen that being moving towards some of the key metrics that she wishes to sort of focus in on and improving that level of dependence upon mining over the next couple of years. But it's also caught the attention of the US and many others, including BHP. But I think the importance of having the US saying, listen, we like what you're doing in Tanzania, and we'd like to see Tanzania as a destination for supply of nickel to the broader community going forward. And that's been reflected in the improvement of the framework agreements that support the understanding as to how a mining company needs to operate in country, and a clear ownership, a 16% ownership. So with this level of focus in and back in the mining space, you're actually going to see not only the improvement of infrastructure, but upgrades that are currently underway. We need to talk about what we're doing there. Obviously, we're actually in exploration, and we've actually we've got a dominant position in this East African nickel belt. It's circa 1,300 square kilometres, and by any stretch, that's a significant holding. We've actually owned 100% of our licenses, with the exception of Luhuma, which we have moved to 65%, and we're going to move to 80%, and we can trigger up to 100%. As I've mentioned, its licenses are adjacent and along strike from this globally significant Kabanga nickel deposit. And we see that the scale of that is quite significant, but the important feature there is it's not only scale, but it's high grade. The work we've undertaken has really encapsulated a number of exploration techniques, including gravity, magnetics, heli-EM, soil geochem, AMT, which some people may not be as familiar with, but it's widely used in Africa. That's given us the opportunity to focus in and start to target our drilling. And what we've identified with those techniques is where we're now drilling. We've actually identified what we've now described as the Luhuma trend. So it extends really over about 10 kilometres of strike. But as you can see on that map, there is a green overlay, which is effectively the targeted soil anomalies. And the red ellipses really focusing on those 4 areas that we think most of the work will be undertaken. Referencing Luhuma Central was only awarded back in May. So we've been very busy on there, defining our targets and then undertaking some drilling using the AMT technique. HM2, we initially drilled in 2022 at the end of, identifying that there's the sulphides and the right geology. So I think more work and more drilling is going to be undertaken there, really to try and what we are focusing in on the ultramafic rocks and really the contact, that basal contact where we think that the massive sulphides would sit. HEM2 northeast splits the 2 opportunities, the central and HEM2. And this is actually previously reported disseminated massive sulphides over significant intercepts. HEM2 east is really a bit of an outlier. As you can see, there's 2 main structures, one in the middle and one looking like a parallel stack structure. So a little bit more, if I can move to the next slide, a little bit more about Luhuma Central. Previously, there were some intercepts there, about 8 metres at 1.4%, noting the fact that that was undertaken by BHP back in the mid-90s. So the targeted acquisition of this was something that featured in our strategy early on in the piece, because we thought that this structure did extend and was rich with nickel sulphides. The focus around Luhuma Central has meant that we have in our first hole hit nickel massive sulphides, which is a fabulous result. And that grade we're getting assayed to confirm independently, because these are portable XRF readings, suggests that the grade is going to be sitting between 1 to 2%. And at this point in time, it suggests an average of about 1.5%. And that's really, really encouraging stuff. The fact that we've been able to hit these massive sulphides with this hole, augurs well for the ongoing drilling that's going to happen in this region. If I can move to the next slide, we backed up again with a second hole, not only hitting a disseminated sulphides and semi-massive vein that's in that. It demonstrates the fact that we're going to be able to string some of these intercepts together. I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this. Essentially, we've got there the AMT slices cutting through on a 2D where we've actually drilled. It's fair to say that we will continue to drill this, probably in a north-south direction. The focus there is actually on the first 2 holes, which you can see the red blobs hitting those massive sulphides. I'd like to spend a little bit more time explaining what we've done here. The historical drill holes that we've been able to gather information on or intelligence on suggested that there were ultramafic rocks and massive sulphides and disseminated sulphide intercepts in this particular region. This strike length is about 1.5 kilometres. That's a positive start. We've actually put AMT lines across this opportunity, 3 of them, and we can actually see that, if I can just spend a little bit of time explaining this image, the actual yellow dots are the planned or in progress holes that we have undertaken. The red dots show that there's been previous massive sulphide hits, and the AMT target anomaly that we are chasing essentially is the red dashed line. Now, the reason why that's slightly offset is it looks as though it's trending and dipping to the west and trending to the north. So as you can see, the opportunity extends both north and south of this current fence that we put in those 3 yellow dots to actually expand this opportunity. Hopefully we can replicate that pretty quickly and achieve the same level of grade. HEM2, as I mentioned, was a target of drilling late last year, and it suggested that we are in the right area, which is fabulous news. We see that there is the right rock types, and what we're seeing is a trend towards the more primitive ultramafic rocks. Now, for the technicians, we're looking to actually chase those ultramafic rocks to see whether we can actually find the basal footwall or where the accumulation of the massive sulphides would sit. So the slide on the right, on the left, is basically the section, but the slide on the right gives us an indication and a trail to see where we're going to be able to take this opportunity further north. As you can see, HEM North East sits about 5 k's away from HEM2, and that sits within that overall trend. So drilling underway at HEM2 will give us an opportunity for us to test those rock types and hopefully hit some massive sulphides. But it does actually lead to us to be able to string together a significant strike extension over about 10 k's. So our next steps, as you can see on the right-hand side of that slide, we're focusing on Luhuma Trend. We have an outlier, which is this parallel structure sitting down at HEM2. We've also had down in Kabanga Southeast, which we're calling HEM4, another zone of interest that will actually feature in some RC drilling. So the plan is to expand our diamond drilling at Luhuma Central, follow up with diamond drilling at both HEM2 and Northeast, do some RC drilling around HEM2 and HEM4 just to keep the costs down, and focus by way of additional information that we can glean from the downhole EM on all those diamond holes. So those diamond holes are being cased at the moment. And as we actually move forward, given we've got this success with AMT, we'd like to be able to select other targets to benefit from that technique. So assays are due imminently. I expect that they should be, if not this week, early next week. So that's good news because everyone's waiting patiently to find out what those grades are. Like every good explorer, we'd like to actually put back to the local community, and we've actually chosen a couple of what we think are very health-focused and local community-orientated opportunities and initiatives. Varka Health provides training for nurses in the local area, as well as Bridge to Aid, and we're looking after our local school as best we can. If I move to the last slide, it's really just a recap of what we see as the investment highlights. On the right-hand side is that massive sulphide intercept that we see. But our exposure to electrification and decarbonisation is really with the exposure to both nickel and uranium in our portfolio. Neurology, we're near something that's actually going to be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, which gives some transparent value and perspective as to where we see our value emerging in this significant province in the East African nickel belt. We see it as a high-grade, large deposit next to us. We'd like to be able to emulate that with the drilling that is underway at the moment. We're doing this drilling at the moment, and we'd like to see this continue for the balance of this year. And we do have that uranium bonus. I don't think I've probably gone over time, but I will take any questions, and thank you for everyone taking the time out of the day.
David, thank you for the great presentation. You even covered this in your presentation, but I'll jump into it. So how's the company's relationship with the government of Tanzania? And is this going to be able to impact upon approvals and fast tracking the project?
Look, I think the relationship's very good. We take a lot of time and effort. Our chairman's over there on a very regular basis, and I'm looking to get over there in the not too distant future. We renew and refresh our relationships, include everything from the ministerial level down to the local mining commissioners, which we think is important because they are really at the coalface. I think that the understanding as to what this Mining Act has brought is it's brought some clarification to how you need to operate to actually move to what a number of companies are now moving to, which is a mining licence. You're given an opportunity over about a 10-year period to actually find out exactly what you've got, and then move into this mining licence regime. You understand that the government's got their 16%, and they're looking to focus on as much local content as they possibly can. So I think, from our perspective, we've had a very, very good relationship. Both Grant and I have worked in Tanzania, and we've got a very good beachhead with our hand-picked geologists and general managers that operate in country. Given it's an exploration program, you need that level of understanding, and they're in regular contact with all the authorities. So I think that augurs well for us to actually be able to get into a situation where we can define a resource, and that's what we're targeting, and then move to that next important step, which is unlocking value.
Wonderful, David. We have gone over, but again, I encourage attendees to reach out by the contact details on the bottom of the ASX releases, but I want to thank you for your time.
Many thanks. Thanks everyone for joining.